I'm John. Currently, I'm 38 years old and training to become a glassblower. I helped out with the family business and saved up some money before starting my apprenticeship. I'm a late bloomer when it comes to chasing dreams. My wife, Emily, is 35 years old. She claims to be a former flight attendant. After quitting her job as a flight attendant, she said she took a cashier job at the supermarket as part of her social studies. I met Emily at a singles event that a friend dragged me to. We just happened to sit next to each other, hit it off, and exchanged contact information. We kept in touch privately, and 2 weeks after meeting, we started dating. From the moment we met, Emily always said this to me.
John, you are my destiny. I knew it the moment I met you.
Emily was a great cook and very considerate. I always thought she was as expected of a former flight attendant. Because I was working and training, I often came home late. But Emily never complained and has always supported me. We got married after dating for 6 months. Let's go greet our parents for the marriage.
John, you're going to marry me, right? Why do you need to meet my parents?
With that, we ended up getting married without meeting each other's parents. I thought I should at least inform my parents, so I did.
Well, you're old enough, so you don't need to come over just for greetings.
I do feel a bit sad, but introduce us when you get a chance.
They said this, and it was a bit of a relief. I was sure they would oppose it. I was raised quite strictly as a child. However, I've also hit my 40s, and now my parents no longer need me as much as they used to.
I trust you're not going to get mixed up with the wrong sort of people.
My parents trusted me and seemed to have no objections to my marriage. So, married life began, but a big incident occurred right away. About 3 months into our marriage, a major incident occurred. Someone had spent $10,000 on my credit card. Could this be fraud? Just as I was about to contact the credit card company, I realized something. This is the card I gave to Emily right after we got married. Emily quit her part-time job as a cashier and became a full-time homemaker. I was thinking of giving her some money for living expenses, but Emily suggested this instead.
In this day and age, you can do almost anything with a credit card, right? So, just leave one card with me, and that'll be fine.
It seemed like a good idea, so I gave Emily one of my cards. She was supposed to handle all the payments that could be made with the card, including utility bills. But I soon realized that the only month payments went smoothly was the first. From the next month, the card was maxed out, and the limit had been raised without my knowledge. I decided to ask Emily about this. Please, it should be unauthorized use, I said to myself. Hey, the bill this month is $10,000. For my words, Emily nonchalantly replied.
Oh, I did a bit of investing, but I'll make it back soon.
What?
In this day and age, investing is better than saving.
But we're struggling with monthly living expenses, right? We're 2 months behind. If you spend any more, we'll be in trouble. I hate to say it, but can you give me back my card? Emily whispered back.
The only thing you're good for is money.
Excuse me.
All you have is money. Don't boss me around.
Bossing around? This is embezzlement, even if we're family.
Embezzlement? Don't make me laugh. It's terrible to be accused of such a thing when I did it for the family.
With that, Emily packed her bags and left. I was stunned, not understanding what had just happened. For now, I put $10,000 into the account for payments. Despite her diligently doing the housework before, she stopped working after we got married. Meals were either prepared food or frozen food. Sometimes we ordered some on Uber Eats. The laundry piled up. Trash was scattered everywhere. I was completely deceived. I believed everything Emily said without trying to see her true nature. I decided to give up on the $10,000 this time, thinking it was a valuable life lesson. My income as a glassblower wasn't that great, but I was still helping out with the family business a bit and haven't had to dip too much into my savings. Emily ended up leaving the house with my card, so I immediately had the card stopped to prevent further expenses. I admitted I lacked judgment. With that said, I wanted to make a fresh start in life. I decided to get a divorce and went to get the paperwork to contact Emily. The morning after I signed the divorce papers, Emily called me.
Come with me tonight. I have something to talk about.
All right, I have something to talk about too.
Okay, I'll email you the place and time.
The place Emily chose was a restaurant at a hotel near the station. I left home before the meeting time and first went to report to my parents. So, I've decided to get a divorce. My parents were surprised at first, but soon returned to their usual expressions.
It's a life lesson, then.
Even you make mistakes in your private life, huh?
They laughed and accepted it, and I was just grateful to them. The freshly written divorce papers were in my bag. Leaving my parents' house, I headed to the restaurant. This is the place. As I entered the restaurant, a waiter guided me to the table. When I spotted Emily from behind, I saw someone sitting next to her.
Please have a seat.
First, sign this. Emily handed me the signed divorce papers. Thanks. And who is this? The man sitting next to Emily was sharply dressed in a suit.
Hello, I'm the lawyer, Mr. Smith.
A lawyer? But why? Mr. Smith looked stern.
We will be filing for alimony against you, John, for emotional abuse towards Emily.
Emotional abuse?
Yes, you have been causing Emily mental distress.
Wait a minute. Emily secretly spent a large amount of money. Is it considered emotional abuse if someone spends money recklessly without doing household chores and then gets upset when confronted?
We consider the money Emily spent as a legitimate amount for her work as a homemaker.
So, she wasn't even doing any housework. I thought heavily to myself, that's quite a claim. As I tried to remain calm, Emily raised her voice.
I've been suffering ever since I married you. You come home late, tell me to stay at home, and get angry if I spend money. I can't stand living like this.
I didn't intend to emotionally abuse you.
It doesn't matter. If Emily feels it's emotional abuse, then it is emotional abuse legally.
Legally, I see. I decided to listen more to these two to find out more.
John, you forced Emily to do housework before you got married, right?
I didn't intend to.
Your attitude suggested it.
Did you tell her to quit her job to control her?
Emily quit her job on her own. I didn't force her.
I felt that way from your attitude.
Do you have any proof that Emily's excuses are different, John?
No proof.
That's a problem. Without proof, you can prove it, can you?
Mr. Smith was smirking as he spoke. So, where's the proof that Emily felt pain?
I've been going to the hospital.
Emily pulled out a hospital receipt from her wallet. Looking at the receipt, I said, this is from an end clinic, though? Wouldn't it usually be a psychiatrist or something?
I have tinnitus. That's stress, right?
If it's diagnosed as stress, wouldn't you be referred to a psychiatrist?
The doctor at this clinic is also a renowned expert in psychiatry.
I wondered to myself if we still had to talk about this. I thought about going home for a moment. Excuse me, Mr. Smith, may I have your business card? As I asked, Mr. Smith pulled a business card from his breast pocket. Should have taken it out of a card holder. I looked at the card half in disbelief. What? Seeing my surprised look, Mr. Smith smirked.
Surprising, isn't it? Skid Law Firm is one of the biggest law firms. If I, an undefeated lawyer from there, am your opponent, you have no chance of winning, huh?
Indeed, the business card said Skid Law Firm. But what surprised me wasn't that. Is this really your card, Mr. Smith?
Yes, why?
Really? A lawyer from Skid Law Firm. Number 5.
Yes, I'm the 5th lawyer at this firm.
That's strange.
What do you mean? Mr. Smith is genuinely a lawyer from Skid Law Firm. There are nearly 100 lawyers there. He's number 5.
I looked at Mr. Smith. You better start telling the truth soon. Mr. Smith was clearly flustered by my words. By the way, where's your lawyer badge?
I forgot it today.
That's a problem. A lawyer badge is like a lawyer's signboard, right? Without it, you can't prove you're a lawyer, can you?
But I have a business card.
He was too flustered, completely losing his earlier composure.
Just pay the alimony quickly. Otherwise, it's going to court, okay?
I was having the time of my life. Fine by me. You'll be appearing as a lawyer in that court, right, Mr. Smith?
Of course.
Is that so, Mr. Smith? I'm very familiar with this business card. Because, you see, this is my business card.
What?
This business card is mine. I wouldn't have known if it weren't for the card number.
Don't lie. You're a glassblower.
I'm an apprentice. Apologize to my master. To explain, I used to be a lawyer and worked at Skid Law Firm. My father was the president of Skit Law Firm. Becoming a lawyer was a given for me as I grew up. I went to law school and passed the bar exam. I worked as the fifth lawyer at Skit Law Firm, but one day, when I took on the task of rebuilding a struggling glass studio, I met them. I was deeply inspired by the artisans who created those beautiful works. After successfully rebuilding it, I've been dreaming of becoming a glassblower ever since. I saved up money and switched careers to a workshop where I wouldn't struggle financially even during my apprenticeship. My master, who was also the manager of this workshop, gave me a decent salary from the start. While handling office tasks and chores, I was training to be a craftsman. I've decided not to work as a lawyer in the office, but for certain reasons, I have occasionally worked as a lawyer. The two were confused by the facts. Then a voice came from behind.
John, are you done talking?
Right at the best part.
Who is this person?
Emily, who hadn't met my parents, didn't even know their faces. Let me introduce him. This is my father, the president of Skit Law Firm.
So you are Emily.
What is that?
Emily started shouting in the middle of the fancy restaurant. It was just embarrassing. Sir, this man claims to be a lawyer from Skit Law Firm.
I don't know this man.
Mr. Smith had nothing to say. I handed my dad the business card from earlier.
This is cleverly made. Just change the name, huh?
The printing quality is impressive indeed.
You often hand out business cards to many people, so you had to be careful.
I was just trying to help. Skit Law Firm offered free legal consultations, and I participated as a lawyer at these sessions at my dad's request.
It might sound out coming from a parent, but John is quite a talented lawyer. I wanted him to continue as a lawyer, but seeing him strive for his dream, I couldn't help but support him.
Thinking I was being unfilial, I helped out with my dad's work as much as I can. So, what will you do, Mr. Smith, the lawyer? Mr. Smith looked up to the heavens. We'll deal with Mr. Smith later, but let's focus on Emily now.
Felon, you're so sneaky. Going ahead.
You went to the restroom and didn't come back, so I just went in.
My mom hurried in. Emily turned pale at the sight of my mom.
It was you after all. I'll never forget that face. You're mistaken.
Clearly it's you. I learned about this mystery when I left my parents' house earlier, as my mom confided in me.
How old is this Emily?
She is 35 years old.
I see. That might be a bingo.
Is that so?
Probably someone who has been in the office several times.
My mom worked as a police officer, particularly excelling as an undercover officer. Her arrest rate for shoplifters was top-notch, and she could spot a shoplifter just by looking. When she said Emily had been in the office, it implied Emily was a repeat shoplifter. Emily has been repeatedly caught shoplifting by my mom.
Indeed, she was so malicious that she was detained by the police once. So, it's a mistake.
My mother approached Emily.
I never forget someone I've arrested. Besides, you seem to be involved in some shady business with this man.
At my mom's words, the people sitting next to us stood up all at once. Actually, everyone sitting around us at the neighboring tables were police officers. Mr. Smith and Emily were posing as lawyers and extorting money under the guise of alimony. Despite the absurd reasons, when told by a lawyer, people ended up paying. There were complaints from victims, and the police had been tracking Emily and Mr. Smith.
Never thought my sin spouse would turn out to be a fraudster.
John still has a lot to learn about judging character.
Mr. Smith had my business card because he attended a legal consultation I participated in.
I was considering debt restructuring.
I remembered later that he had consulted about that. It seems he wrote his name randomly at that time. I didn't recognize you because you look so different. Surrounded by police, Emily and Mr. Smith sat down. Mr. Smith seemed resigned and said nothing, but Emily was different. Suddenly, she grabbed my shirt.
Do you really think you can catch me? Don't make me laugh.
I'm not the one catching you. It's the police.
I always thought you were unpleasant, but I never guessed you were a lawyer. Of course, you wear such nice clothes. I thought you must be rich.
So it was all about the money after all.
You thought I loved you. Money is the most important thing to me. Money doesn't betray me. With money, I can do anything.
Emily now seemed defiant, with a creepy grin on her face.
If you had just let me spend your money quietly, you wouldn't have gotten hurt.
Hurt?
Yes. Married to a beauty like me. Now you know the truth, and you're at rock bottom, right? Everyone falls for my beauty, and in the end, they all fall into hell like this.
Suddenly, Mr. Smith stood up.
Don't get us wrong.
Exactly. If I may say so, Emily was hardly what one would call beautiful. It was just that she was a good cook and a good talker. She won by character, not looks. If we're talking looks, think Anteater. Mr. Smith seemed to share my sentiment and was shouting furiously.
Our relationship was purely transactional. Have you ever looked in the mirror and seen a beauty?
But everyone falls for me and spends money on me, right? Even you, Mr. Smith.
What? Have I ever said you were beautiful?
I feel it in my heart.
I'm not showing any of that feeling.
The two began to argue among themselves even at this point. We just watched them in astonishment.
Whether you're beautiful or not doesn't matter right now. Both of you, please come this way.
My mom and the police led the unceasingly arguing pair outside. Thus, the truth about Emily and me came to light until she got into the police car. Emily was saying,
What's wrong with stealing from those who have money?
she was truly obsessed with money. Emily and Mr. Smith had been lovers and business partners even before Emily and I met. Emily would concoct some reason, and Mr. Smith, posing as a lawyer, would demand money. The total damage was over $100,000, and there were likely other victims. Emily and Mr. Smith were both prosecuted, and given the severity and amount of the damage, they received actual prison sentences. Emily, of course, appealed and even had the audacity to ask me to defend her.
John, you understand everything about me. And as a lawyer, you're the right person.
No way.
You'll regret losing a woman like me for the rest of your life.
I'd regret letting a woman like you out for the rest of my life. Also, I'll be claiming the $10,000 you spent and alimony.
As if I'd pay that.
Are you sure you should be saying that? I'm a lawyer, you know. I'll make sure to claim it according to the law and make sure you pay. As I left the visiting room, Emily was still shouting something. I claimed $30,000 in damages from Emily and Mr. Smith each. They can work and pay it off once they get out of prison. I continued to train as a glassblower. I cherish the joy of being able to work at something I love. Recently, my mom mentioned a marriage proposal.
My colleague's daughter is quite a catch. A really nice girl.
Mom, I've had enough of women for now. But my persistent mom brings up new proposals every week, which I elegantly ignore. For now, I'm focusing on my work and living life on my own.